Welcome to the podcast that does more than just discuss. Embodying Spirit unpacks key metaphysical and psycho-spiritual theories through heartful discussion and playful debate, and then gives you applications and exercises to bring these concepts into your own life. Isabel Almeida, wellbeing coach, and Tārā Love, healing arts facilitator and ceremony guide, have been on the conscious healing train for 40 years between them, studying a range of modalities from yoga and somatic healing to community engagement and philosophy. As best friends, co-creators, dynamic mothers, and dreamers of a better way to live, they have been seeking to live in conscious community for a long time. This is a collection of the conversations around consciousness, connection, and community they've been having for many years. The duo draw on a vast range of theories and schools of thought, claiming the sacred feminine space of relationality between many influences from Hermeticism and Vedic scripture to quantum physics to shamanism and beyond. Also claiming their deeply intuitive inner knowing. They share these deep chats, ideas, and debates openly, bringing new embodied perspectives to ancient wisdom. Each episode begins with a discussion, leading into an immersive exercise and a guided meditation. They share these vital ideas and tools in practical and grounded ways to inspire waves of self-empowered awakening in the world at a time when we need it most. We really hope you enjoy. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome to episode 11 of the Embodying Spirit podcast, which is entitled Follow Your Joy. This is the final episode in this series, and we've had a little bit of a break in between the last 10 and this one, and we are, in the beginning of the series, we were in Cape Town together, then we were recording between London and Cape Town, and for this final episode, after some adventures on both sides, we are reunited in London. So here we are, and we thought probably to help us more than you, as it might not be such a big gap that you are between the last two episodes in listening, obviously because it's so fascinating. You've just been downing them all. It would be helpful for us to have a little summary. So here is our summary. As we end this podcast series, we hope that we have taken you through an opening of some basic theories around the nature of reality and how we are the co-creators of it.
How we are all spirit embodied and how we can begin to undo some of the old school programming that keeps us playing small in the world and feeling separate from each other.
How we can grow our awareness of our profound power within our own lives and harness our ability to heal ourselves whole.
How, through increased awareness, we can start to consciously work with our power to move from feeling like we are victims of forces beyond ourselves and towards master creators of our world.
We've looked at how we are all connected, how we are creating our own realities, how our subconscious is in control, and how we therefore cannot bypass deep healing on a somatic level.
We explored coming into greater powers of manifestation through aligning with love above fear, through knowing our connection to everything and healing our trauma of separation from our spirit self.
We looked at the deep need to acknowledge our human suffering and to find ways to integrate how to see everything as a gift. What's left? What could we possibly talk more about?
Oh, I'm sure we'll find something.
I'm sure we will. And I guess I think it's really important for us to start by saying also that everything, when summarized in those beautiful words, is much easier said than done. It was even quite a lot to say, but it's definitely a lot more to do. And I think that we're often really hard on ourselves about these things, and that there's almost a toxicity in the, obviously it's beautiful that we are in this increased awareness of self-healing, self-awareness, the spiritual endeavors are becoming more important in society today. This, the whole self-help world, as it were, is mushrooming, to use a term close to my heart. And yet it can often be a little bit toxic because it can feel like it's easy. Oh, we just have to do this. Oh, we just have to do that. Oh, I just have to love myself whole. Oh, I just have to follow my joy. But it is easier said than done. And particularly when we're living in this world of success, of measuring ourselves by our success, our material success, our success of personality, of our wealth, financial success, all these kinds of very Western material ideas of what that is.
Yeah, and the fact is there's times where we can feel just so aligned, so energetic, and it can seem like, yes. But then we're emotional creatures. So obviously there's other days that we just, today we just don't feel so aligned. And today it's that much harder to find gratitude, to find your joy. And that's okay, right? Like, that is life.
And also this idea in the West
Constant.
that like everything's got to be achieved in this lifetime, because generally most people are not coming from a multiple incarnations perspective, which is something that we believe in. But it's like just you as this individual, which we've talked about a lot in this series, out there in the world battling against all these forces, rather than it being part of a bigger picture that we're co-creating, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it's all about just being present here now with yourself, right? And being kind and compassionate rather than being in the idealized self of what we're wanting for ourselves, what we're believing that is available. Like, for instance, to always be within our joy, right? Like, that's what we're looking to become more aligned with. But yeah, and it's just great that we have that awareness.
Yeah. And I think also, and I think I probably have spoken about this previously as well, but this idea of success being related or being a good person, quote unquote, in this world, which is therefore success, being related to saving lives, like helping others, right? Like in order to be a success or to be a good person, you've got to be changing the world, making the world a better place, right? And I guess that's where we come to as well with this episode, because I think also certainly my parents' generation, the idea of following your joy, I mean, it just sounds really selfish as well, right? Like, what do you mean, follow your joy? There's work to be done here. We've got to work for the betterment of mankind. We've got to save the planet. We've got to do all these good things. We've got to struggle against the forces of evil to be better citizens, right? Like, that's kind of the paradigm that I was certainly brought up in.
But it's true. It's still true, as in, like, of course we've got to follow our joy, but ultimately our joy does end up being that is something helpful for the world as well. It's just it can't start there, because then we can become self-sacrificing, right? Like, and that's
right. And
the issue there.
Exactly. And I think when people think of it on a really surface, flippant way, and they kind of go, oh, but following my joy could be like going out, I mean, I've heard people say really silly things. Like, what if my following my joy is going out and stabbing people? You're like, I don't actually think that's really going to bring you joy. You know what I mean? Like, or less extremely, sitting around doing nothing, right? And you're like, I actually don't think that's really going to bring you joy either. Right. And the whole thing about following your joy, the reason we talk about it is about raising your vibration, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and just to go to that point, it's true that when somebody's there and they're just like in action, rushing around all the time, in that moment, following their joy could feel like doing nothing, right? Like giving myself a break. And it's not that in that moment that's not true. It's not like, it's just that ultimately that's not your heart's desire. That's your reactive desire to not following your joy and wanting a break from not following your joy.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, no, totally.
So that's why it's a case of, I mean, if that's where you want to start there. But, but obviously...
But it's unlikely to be there a week later if you've actually just allowed yourself to be in relax. Obviously, relaxation is a huge part of following your joy. But true relaxation rather than avoidance, right? Which I think we're going to talk about a bit later more. But just first of all, I think it's important that we clarify this idea of raising your vibration, and that's why we talk about following your joy, because in following your joy being one of those high vibration states, bliss, you could say follow your bliss, but that almost feels even harder to kind of contemplate what that really means, right? But it's following your and happiness is also a funny one, but like following your joy is following your raised vibration, right? Because when we come into that understanding, which is what this whole series has been around, about us being in an energetic universe, that we are energy, that everything is energy, and we are looking to in understanding evolution, we're looking to raise our vibration to increase the energy of the universe, right? And if we're all parts of that universe, if we increase our individual vibration, by default, it's going to increase the vibration of those around us, because everything is connected. And as soon as you raise your vibration and increase your vibration, you're around other, like, you think of yourself as a little atom, which obviously you're more than one, but just think of it in that simple term, right? You're just like this little vibrating being. And as you increase your vibration, and as we know from our basic science, once you're next to another thing that's vibrating, if you're vibrating higher, naturally you're going to allow that thing to vibrate higher. It's going to have a knock-on effect, quite literally, right? So then you're just raising the vibration of that thing next to you. Or that's the best thing that you can do, to raise the vibration of everything that's around you. And then domino effect, one leads to the other, leads to the other. And before you know it, the whole vibration of the universe is increasing, right? Which is why we say it can't just be about helping others. Because if you're like, oh, I'm so stressed and I'm so tired and it's hurting me so much, but I'm saving lives doing this work, but you're in a really low vibration because you're burnt out and you're tired and it's not helping you, then the question is, are you really helping the universe, if we see it in an energetic fashion, right?
Yeah, and it's easy to see it if you think of it as love, as in, like, if you know yourself, when you're in more of a loving state, which is what you are when you're in a raised vibration, right? You're more compassionate and loving with yourself. That means that the way that you then interact with other people, and we have spoken about this, is in a more loving way. And just by them being spoken to and being communicated with in love, they feel more seen, and therefore that's how they become more in love themselves. It's just common sense, really. It's common sense that the more that we are in a more relaxed, loving state, the more that we're going to interact with others in that way. And so that idea that we can hurt ourselves to help others, it's just, of course, that's how we'll just become sick. And
I think, to be honest, it's also, to be a bit scathing of it, it's also to be judgmental, obviously something we've spoken about not being, but, it's also a hang up of the kind of the overculture, the colonial history as well, right? Which all had its place and whatever, but do you know what I mean? It's that thing of like knowing better what it is that I can do to help another, which is also a kind of misconception, I think, that we have to rewrite now, right? Like, I can only know what's best for me. I can't know what's best for anyone else. And so the best thing that I can do to help anybody is to raise my vibration, and obviously not to be in isolation, but you can't be in isolation. That's why they've proven that, particularly if one person, but if more than one person meditates on something, it will raise the vibration of everyone around, right? Like, that's how mass manifestation works as well. You don't even have to be in physical contact with people to affect them. And I'm not saying that we should all just go and be a monk on a hill meditating and, manifesting a beautiful world through sitting in silence. Not that that can't help, but I'm not saying that it's the age for us to do that necessarily. Because, and mainly just because everyone's got their way. No one way is going to serve everybody, and that's not going to work for everybody. However, it is realizing that it's not by going in and materially trying to shift someone's situation in a very sort of like, let me bring you this, let me do this for you because I know better than you. That's just not that. I don't think that's old school now, right? And it can be quite presumptuous. And actually, if I increase my vibration, if I follow my joy, if I increase my heart space and live from my heart space and from a space of love, and then I'm gonna increase that in the world. And as I think you were sort of saying, alluding to earlier as well, by default, it will end up that you're probably helping other people as well. Because when we're feeling in joy and when we're feeling relaxed and when we're feeling expansive, it also naturally feels good to also bring people into that, those people around you, right? It's like when you're feeling relaxed and cool and happy about things, and it doesn't feel like a problem to oh, do you want me to get you something from the shops when I'm there? Because I'm going anyway. Do you know what I mean? Like that feels okay. Whereas if you're feeling tight and stretched and like everything's too much, then you're like, oh, I just don't have the time to go and get stuff for them as well. Do you know what I mean? You know, on a really simple level.
Yeah. And there's also that thing of generally most of our gifts actually are designed to uplift others, right? Like, so if you think about a singer, like often a singer is singing because they love singing and they're really good at it. But through that, they bring other people so much joy, but they don't have to go up to people and start singing in their faces and like pushing themselves on them. Like that's just not the way, right? So, and I just wanted to add this as well, is there's also this idea though, like, you know, sometimes as well, we can not be feeling so great. And there can be in us that can do for another, that can actually help bring us joy as well. Because sometimes we don't know, you know, like we don't know what to do, but helping somebody else, like, you know, somebody else needs us to go shop. And it's like being able to do that for your elderly neighbor, you can feel some like heartfulness through that as well,
because we are all connected. We are all connected.
Yeah, because we are. Exactly. But but it can't be that it's, you know, about, you know, oh, I find my joy just through somebody else. Do you know what I mean? It's just understanding that you have to be grounded in yourself.
Yeah, the age of martyrdom is over, right? Really, like, I mean, I think I feel really passionately about this because, I mean, as you know, but like, so my mum, and I think I've probably talked about this as well on the podcast, but, you know, my mum died of cancer at the age of 48, and it was, you know, now I also understand that everything's a gift, and it was a gift in many ways because it was the trigger of my whole spiritual awakening. But I struggled for a long time in understanding why somebody who did so much good, you know, she was an amazing teacher. She worked with children with special educational needs. She worked with some of the poorest communities. She was, you know, she was innovative. She was constant. She was tireless in her work, both in her personal life and in her working life. And I was just like, what cruel universe is this that takes away this person that's being so good to so many? And then I realized it's because she never loved herself. And there was never space for following her. It's not that, and it wasn't that her work didn't bring her joy. It did. She loved what she did as well. And yet it was out of balance, right? Because she was working crazy hours. She wasn't taking time to self-care. She wasn't considering what was really bringing her joy also in her personal life in relation to her marriage, you know. And so, yeah, it was a really, really big lesson for me in the fact that you have to love yourself, and you have to, you know, and it went deeper than that, also into ideas of self-image and the way she saw herself physically and many things. But just, yeah, I just realized that you really have to be tuning in on a deep level to your own vibration and constantly asking yourself, you know, am I doing this to distract from my own pain? Am I doing this to make myself feel good about myself because I don't feel good about myself in any other way? I only value myself in how I help others. You know, I only see my purpose in being able to help others. Or, you know, or is it aligned with myself and part of a whole person understanding of me, and that I have capacity? It's also this thing of serving from a cup that's overflowing. Right? Like if my cup is full and overflowing with my own joy and my own beauty, then I've got so much to give, and it is also sustainable. Whereas if my cup is empty, then or half empty even, and I'm not able to, I keep giving, and then there's nothing left for me. And then not only is it not sustainable and you can burn out, but also you run out of stuff to give the other as well. And you can, by conversely, then become a burden on them, right?
Yeah, and you know what? It's as you were talking, I was thinking about like even like as a child while I was growing up, it's like also when you're in a state of survival, sometimes you just don't have the ability to be like in your heart, in your what is my joy, because you're in the reaction. So actually being in a state of, well, if I can just make you happy, then I'll be happy, can become like a natural state. So you don't even realize there's a you that can put that focus on yourself, right? Because you're just reactive to your situation. So it's also the understanding that, like, yeah, you have to really, I suppose, do the inner work as well, and actually go back to understanding, like, you know, is this something I'm doing because you know, as you say, I'm doing it because I'm trying to to feel better through somebody else? Or is this really what I'm doing because I want to make this person happy? And it's not to say that you may not have come into the world as somebody who's just giving and loving, and, you know, that actually there is a joy in giving. But once it becomes a thing of, you know, I need to make you happy to be happy, right? Like, that's where you've lost the plot. And so that's just also something to be aware of.
It takes a lot of unpicking,
you know,
doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does.
I mean, what you're talking, it's making me think also of the whole, you know, the Gabor Mate theories as well around trauma and childhood, and how, you know, because actually it's all very well and good for us to say, you know, so actually all we need to do is to increase the vibration of the universe, is to increase our own vibration, and we do that by following our joy. Do you know what I mean? And then you're like, well, fuck, what's my joy? So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't know what my joy is, don't think that you're alone, because actually it's quite deep. And a lot of people, sadly but truthfully, don't even know how to follow their own joy or what that looks like, or they're in fear around it. But a lot of that comes from very early childhood, which is kind of what you were touching on, Isabel. It's like a kind of similar but different point in terms of the fact that when we're, you know, and this is what Gabor Mate talks about, that when we're little, we are hardwired to follow our joy, but we're also hardwired to need love. And the one thing that children need above everything else is love, right? So if you are reprimanded by your parents for doing what you think is just following your joy, but it doesn't work in the family unit because it's too messy, or it's too noisy, or it does, you know, it doesn't seem like it's good behavior, or it seems spoiled, or it's just too much stress for the parent to deal with because they're also living in pain, right? And then you're reprimanded for that, then you learn to adapt your behavior, because the child will constantly look for love. And so if the child understands, oh, well, the only way I can get love is if I'm quiet and sit in the corner, or even like what you're saying, by doing tasks to bring me love, like, oh, when I make my cup of tea, then I get a hug. Oh, when I don't cry and I don't shout and I don't play loudly, then I get love. You know, then you're already adapting and hardwiring your behavior to not be in the pursuit of your own joy, but be in the pursuit of love based on another's idea of what it is for you to be a lovable person, right?
And that's the issue, is that you end up living, which so many do anyway, either in the past or the future, right? So you're not in the present. So when you say, oh, I don't know what my joy is, really you're saying, I'm not present with my heart. I can't hear what I'm really wanting, because you're just moving from that fear perspective, right? Of like, yeah, trying to stop something or get something going or whatever it is.
And I think you're also one step ahead in thinking, like, not just like, what is my joy, but what is my joy that's going to be good enough for the universe? You know, what is my joy that's going to be productive for society? What is my joy that's going to be able to bring me an income that's going to be appropriate for me as a grown person to be doing with my day, right? That's also what you're doing.
Exactly. You're not valuing yourself. That's basically it. You don't know how to value yourself. So it's through the evaluation of others. And if they say, well done, then you're like, great.
So it's backed up by school, isn't it? Because obviously it's like, it's childhood first in terms of what you get at the home, in terms of what is acceptable behavior or not acceptable behavior. And then it's school. Well, obviously, you know, you need to want to do, I mean, we always ask kids this. I even catch myself doing, catch myself doing this in terms of like, oh, what do you want to be when you grow up? You know, and actually it's a really toxic question, because you're already hardwiring them to think, oh, I have to want to do something that I know exists as a job, which already is madness, because most kids don't even know what most jobs are. But secondly, like, why must it look like anything that already exists? And why must we assume that, you know, and it's like they basically have to say they want to be a fucking fireman or a doctor or a lawyer or a teacher, because those are the things you know as a child, right?
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned school, and in that moment, it's like, yeah, it's terrible, because at school you're always told, don't talk, sit down, listen, and it's like, don't follow your joy. It's like, do the opposite. It's like, let us. And it's, I don't want to be harsh, but it's like, let us program you with whatever this is, right? Like this English, this maths, this whatever. And so of course you're just, you know, you're not being taught like to go inside and to listen to yourself. And so I think it's just that thing of like, you've got to have so much great compassion for yourself. If you're like, oh, I don't know my joy, I don't know it's like, it's okay. You haven't been taught to know
well,
that.
you've been taught to not know it more,
You
know.
do have it, like that. Yeah, exactly. But the thing is to know, regardless of whether you're aware of it, is that it is there. You're so unique. There is only one of you. You were born out of your heart, right? Like the heart was the first cell. You were born out of that desire. So actually, once you just start to peel back those layers,
Yeah.
which is what we're talking about here, that's what you'll begin to uncover. But first, you have to get over the false ideas, right? Like that, that your joy is trying to escape your reality, which is often like where people are at when they're in this rat race. And
I just want to take a little moment there to, I mean, we have touched on this previously, but just that understanding that we are each so unique, and we are a divine expression of the universe, and it is the universe desiring to know itself more. And that is actually our only responsibility, is to be ourselves as deeply and as fully as we can be, because nobody has ever or will ever exist. Even though our spirit may come back in many incarnations, it's not going to come back in the same body, in the same moment, in the same way, in the same knowing, right? So in this expression of the divine, in this moment, you are completely unique, and only you can be you, and no one can be you better than you. So all we can do is be ourselves as much and as fully and as beautifully as we can. And that's what I think people really struggle with, because for you to be you feels like, but that's just boring, and that's just me, because you've got this idea that you're boring or not enough, right? Which we've touched on lots, but it's just like, actually, that is all that there is to do, is to be you. And I think people think it's going to be hard, but actually, well, the hardness is getting over that programming, but the ease is actually just following what you would want to just do, right?
And yeah, and I also want to say, because obviously we've touched on like being a child and maybe being programmed in certain ways or going through situations that can lead you to be disconnected. But right, if in fact I look at myself here, and I'll be like, yeah, of course, but it was that childhood that led me to understand my joy, because it's where I practiced coaching, right? Like that's when I first understood that, I'm in a situation where I'm helping somebody else to have perspective as they're coming to me with, what's going on. And so of course, when later on in life, when I'm in a job and I'm thinking like, what is it my heart's desiring? It's like, oh, actually, this is what you enjoy, helping people find their joy, right? That this is helping people know themselves more. So it's like, actually, nothing's gone wrong either. It's just that life takes us on this like journey of twists and turns and ups and downs.
And forgetting and remembering. And because it is true that also like when we're speaking to like find, what brings you joy, and people don't know, like the best thing is like to go further back into your childhood, because even with those distortions of trauma, like there will be moments of pure joy that you remember. For me, dancing around the living room and singing and dancing and being and clowning and being a fool essentially, which is now what I make a profession of. Like that's also what really brought me joy as well. And even though I was then reprimanded for showing off, and and that led me on a whole other journey, it's true that it's like that is where the essence of your joy will be found, is in your childhood. And I think that's where we have to also remember, and I kind of said this already, but just this thing to let go of this need to achieve something, to stop skipping ahead and thinking, oh, but I've got to be somebody in the world. I've got to achieve something in the world. I've got to, but that you are enough as you are, that you are valuable just in your full expression of self. And the more that you allow yourself to play with who you are and what you love to do and how you love to be, the more you will find that unique gift that you are here to bring the world, and the more you will hone it, and the more you will develop it, and the more you will polish it. And without realizing it, you will find a way for that to be how you also can exist in your full expression of self within the world, right?
Yeah, and I mean, of course, that can seem really scary. Like when you're here trying to, put food on the table, it's like, well, how can I just, what I'm supposed to just...
Yeah, it seems really like wishy-washy, like what you're talking about. How am I going to feed the kids?
Yeah, it's like,
how am I going to pay my rent? Yeah. The survival mind comes back, right? The fight or flight, the survivor.
Right. And it's true that when you're in survival, your ability to have the, those real creative ideas and thinking process becomes blocked. So, I mean, that's why we also have to do the work to bring ourselves into relax, to bring ourselves out of survival, and to, breathe deeper and use these practices, right? So that we can really connect with our hearts, right? And so from there, because what the universe rewards us for actually coming into our hearts and for trusting the universe and for following our joy. It starts to provide us with ways to do that. And so there's a certain amount of you've got to understand that unless you're following your joy and you're seeing those things open up, you don't know. Right, you what you're actually in is survival. Totally. So that's what's being
tunnel vision, like just right? and also thinking that you've got to figure it all out, right? Like that's the thing, like thinking that it's all you as this individual little ant crawling on the surface of the planet that's all against you, right? Which again we've talked about lots, So what I think it's quite good for us to think about, like what we would say to people who are like, how can you tell me to follow my joy? I've got the rent to pay, I've got the kids to feed. What can I? It seems like such a massive chasm between being able to do that and to get all these 3D things done. The things that I feel I need to do, that I have to do, in order to just be okay. Yeah. What do you say?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose firstly, it's not about what you do. It's about how you do it, right? Like it's about you being aligned in what you're doing and doing things.
Finding the little joys, being present in it, kind of. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Like, it's about the way that you're interacting with, if you're interacting with others in a present way, then the way that you're going to be able to experience the moment is going to be different than if you're doing it, if you're blocked, if you're just, I don't want to be here and whatever. So the first thing would be to really show up in what you're doing and actually become aware of, what is bringing you joy in that moment.
And finding, like I said, sorry, maybe I confused you by butting in like I like to. I was thinking in that way, like finding, like not worrying too much about the kind of big joys, but finding the little joys within the moment, right? So if it's like, okay, I've got to take this really long walk to work every day because I can't afford to take the bus or whatever. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, okay, well, how can I find the joy in this? Do you know what I mean? And it's like, oh, well, I can look at the trees and I can look at the flowers on the way to work, rather than focusing on the ugly car fumes or whatever, for example, right? It's like, how do I find the joy in what it is I have to do? If I have to go to work, what is it about, to work in an office and I don't like working for this firm? What is it in that job that I do like doing? For now, I really like chatting to the guy who does the photocopying, so I will enjoy that, and I really enjoy, I don't know, like something, I really enjoy the feeling of typing on my fingertips or something like that. You know what I mean? Like finding the little joys within the thing that you don't necessarily find joyful, right?
Yeah. Finding the joy in your feelings and how you're approaching what you're doing, as opposed to,
which is what you mean by the
I don't want to be
by the how and not the what, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And another thing I think that's really important is to remember that there is always wiggle room. There's always space. Like as much as, and I know that can sound, can be annoying. You're like, what do you mean? I'm flat out. I've got to feed the kids. I've got to go to work. I've got to da-da-da-da. But there's always space. There's always somewhere that you can begin to pursue your joy, like your dreams, right? So for example, like you are working this job or whatever, but you've always just, from like doing that work and looking back in your childhood, like, you always just wanted to sing, you always wanted to be a singer. And obviously I'm talking about myself in some ways now, but it's like, so then you know that you can, there's always a little bit you could do. Like maybe it starts by just every evening before you go to bed, finding online, on YouTube, a little singing lesson, a 10-minute singing lesson, and just doing that for 10 minutes before you go to bed every night, or maybe it's like finding a choir and finding some friend or a club or something that can look after the kids, so you can go to a choir once a week or once a month. Like there's something that you can do. And if you're always thinking, oh, but I want to be on stage in Wembley and I'm not there, and it can feel like such a massive chasm between what you see as your joy and where you're at, but there's always a little bit of room for you to start to put yourself in the direction of that, right? And to begin to, and you don't know, and then what happens is you start thinking, oh yeah, but okay, going to a choir, that's hardly becoming a big singer. But you don't know what's going to happen, because like you say, nature favors the brave, and nature sees, the universe sees those efforts, and it knows that if you're saying I can, then you're attracting it, right? And you're allowing these little steps to take you towards that thing that is going to be your ultimate joy in your mind, I think that that's something.
Yeah, definitely. And as well, like, what, in survival, we tend to have rely on numbing habits, right? Like, so, just watching endless TV, or maybe we're smoking a spliff or drinking something that, and when we're doing that, like, just to forget, then of course that's just not bringing us
it's lowering our
joy.
vibration, isn't it?
If we're
that's
doing
the thing.
It's further unawareness, right? But if we're doing that consciously and aware, like, we can be like, oh, well, actually this could be a creative moment. This could be a moment that actually I'm using this focused attention that I'm receiving from smoking this spliff to create something that's in my heart. I can get in touch with that. Or even if I'm watching TV, I can choose to watch something that's going to spark creation in me, something that, oh yeah, because that could help me communicate, or that could help me cook, or that could help, whatever it is. The point is it's aligned with, something that you wanted to progress into, rather than just mindlessly just putting it on and just not really, like, you're there but not really there. Like, we're not trying to check out of our lives.
And also sort of and slowly, I mean, of course we need moments to relax, so it's sometimes unrealistic, I think, to be like, oh well, instead of watching TV or smoking spliff, I'm gonna do an online course, for example, right? Because maybe you don't have the energy to do that at the end of the day or whatever, but just shifting those habits slightly into like, okay, well, maybe I'm gonna go for a walk in nature, just for 20 minutes before I have that split for that glass of wine, or do you know what I mean? And just beginning to shift those habits from numbing ones to loving ones, I think allows you to raise your vibration in smaller ways that help you to become closer just to a state of joy in general, right? Like taking 10 minutes to breathe, right?
Yeah, because having the intention to raise your joy is going to help you raise it anyway, because whatever we put our intention on, wherever we put our attention grows, right? So actually just having that and is going to mean that we're going to do more things, or do things in a way that brings more joy anyway. So,
and I reckon that's also about really trusting, isn't it? That's like really about trusting, again, like I said, that we're not in control of everything, that there is like greater forces at work, and that if we set those intentions around our joy, if we know what it is that we want, so if we do the work to figure out what does bring us joy and what it is that we maybe want to be pursuing more of in our lives, and set those intentions in the morning and take a moment to, I don't know, in meditation or at our altar or even on that walk to work or whatever, to just to be in the manifestation. Of course, we've done a lot of episodes on manifestations, but kind of, and be in the manifestation of that, then trusting that it's also going to get better. It's going to move the direction we want it to move, right?
Exactly. And also another way is just not having to, be in the manifestation of your joy fully here now, thinking, oh, it should all be here now. If you're just aware that actually just working with joy, taking those small steps, what brings me joy now, what brings me joy now, and actually just checking in with yourself and bringing that awareness to yourself, then that also helps you like redirect yourself or draw more of what it is that is joyful to you as well. Like the more that you're in your heart, the more you become a magnet for the things that are in your heart, right? So
and
just like, taking time with yourself.
And that makes me also think about that whole thing of like not, we've kind of mentioned it already, but just kind of not undermining what it is that brings you joy, be it those small things as well. Just in that recognition that raising your vibration in any way is going to help raise your vibration in the bigger picture too. And also you can't guess what the outcome is going to be, and you can't guess what it is that you're doing to raise your vibration, like how that's going to then have a knock-on effect, right? So you can have the big dreams, but you can also work with the small things and be like, you know what actually makes me feel really, really great is lying in the sun and reading a good novel, and I feel really inspired and enthused when I do that, and instead of kind of just cutting yourself down and being like, well, how's that going to help me get a better job in life, or how's that going to, do you know what I mean? Like, but just trusting, like, well, I think that really, it just puts me in a better mood. And then I'm kinder to the kids and I'm kinder to myself. And, it makes me less kind of likely to then do other numbing things later or something. Do you know what I mean? Then you just have to trust that's enough as well, that's going to help raise your vibration. And that's just going to help raise the vibration of the universe and therefore increase all joy.
Yeah, because I mean, the truth is we often think of ourselves like that we're here for a certain amount of time, right? And because we think we're here for a certain amount of time, we always see like joy over there. But when we're understanding that actually, in fact, we might not be here tomorrow. So the joys that we have today are the joys that we need to hear today, right? Like now is the moment for joy. So that small thing, and if it might be like, oh, I really feel like having a luscious coffee, that's going to bring me joy. It's like, oh, well, then do that. Do you know what I mean? Like do that, because if that helps you smile in this moment, that means that the next step you take is likely to be a smiley step, right? Like, because you're in that awareness. So don't, of course there's a certain amount of, as we say, like, it could be habits that are actually not necessarily joyful because they may feel joyful, but they lead you into misery, right? It's like smoking might be like, oh no, but I smoke a cigarette and that brings me joy because it's giving me a nicotine hit, but I'm going to be thinking, oh no, it's killing me. Then of course that's a misalignment.
The false friends, the comfort
really, those
and discomfort.
joyful habits are ones. Yeah, those real joyful habits are ones that, we can grow with. That's how we know they're leading us into further joy. So, that's just really good to have that awareness. And sometimes, like I was thinking about my mum, like I remember my mum had this desire. She wanted to come out of, we grew up in a state of like poverty, as so many people who came here as immigrants struggled, and and so she had this desire she wanted to thrive in life. She wanted to come out of survival. She wanted to be able to have whatever she wanted and not to worry about her future, right? And how she was going to provide for herself, having struggled. So her joy in those moments may have been that things were aligned with that, right? So it might have been actually working hard and, making certain decisions so that she could buy that land and invest in this and invest in that. And for her, that made a lot of sense because ultimately, someone else might be looking and saying, well, hold up, but that doesn't look very joyful. Like, what are you doing over there? You could be way more relaxed. But it really did help her move. Like she had a desire, and actually saying no to what might have seemed like, like something that might have brought her joy, like buying a dress here now might have brought her joy, but if it's not going to help her in the future, it was like, no, because I've got a plan here. This is where I'm going. And now she's in a state where actually she is relaxed and she's able to provide and have anything she wants, right? And like, so, that's what it is. It's actually having those intentions and understanding what that means that you're going to be doing towards that, and and being grateful for those steps on the way. Like, that's really important. And as we say, I don't think anybody can tell you what that is. Like somebody else may think that, you know, that's not their way, but that's not your concern.
And I think that's the problem, isn't it? That we're often looking around to other people or how other people are doing it. Bless us, because we're all kind of so connected as well. And of course, we can take inspiration from other. That's a beautiful thing. But at the same time, really, it's about listening to yourself, which, as we've already said, is something that we're so not trained in. And to really come into that heart space and to genuinely ask, does this bring me joy? And I think, you know, for us, that's been personally, it's been such a big learning as well, you know, and we have to, it's really hard to shift those grooves of those false ideas of joy. Like for many years for me, I thought it was smoking weed, you know, that's what brought me joy. And maybe it did for some years, right? But then there was always this narrative around like, oh, it's not good for me and it's killing myself and it's dumbing me down and it's making me slow. And, you know, and I don't think that everything it gave me was negative. Don't get me wrong. And I mean, God, we could do a whole episode on weed. We really could. And, you know, and it is a teacher plant in its own right and blah, blah, blah. But I was always aware that for me, it was, well, I wasn't always aware, but I became increasingly aware that it was also causing a blockage for me socially, that it was giving me a certain level of anxiety. And it was tricksy because on the one hand, it was reducing my anxiety, but I saw in the longer term that it was increasing my anxiety, that it was isolating me more from other people, that it was preventing me from being in the full expression of myself. And it was allowing me to sit in discomfort in other spaces in my life that when I wasn't smoking, and therefore in this kind of rose-tinted kind of haze a little bit, that I didn't like, you know. And so yeah, it took a real kind of a huge amount of work for me to work through this understanding of the fact that I was finding comfort in discomfort as well, because I'd been hardwired as well to not really be listening to myself, because we're also working so much on our heads, which again we've spoken about a lot, you know, not dropping down into the heart space and really feeling into whether this is working for me or not. And I think I had a load of narratives around what it meant also to be a weed smoker and the creativity it gave me, and, you know, the alignments to kind of being a hippie and to being outside of the overculture and all of these things. But in truth, it was hurting me, you know, or certainly it eventually was. And that, you know, but I've also had to do in order to be able to give it up, I also had to do a lot of forgiveness around how long I had it in my life, and that understanding that we are hardwired. These, like, I always get that image of the grooves on a record, and we're stuck in these grooves because they're the grooves, they're the neural pathways that are the most common, and we know that in repeating neural pathways we strengthen them, so they just become the easiest, the path of least resistance, the way to go. And to recreate those pathways, to find a way to tune into the body, to not go into anxiety, stress response, to listen to what we really desire, to really tune into not following other, but to following our higher self. That's actually a really big thing to do, you know. And and also there's a certain safety in being in pain. There's a safety in being in a victim complex, right? There's a safety in life being hard and being in survival and the struggle, and like, because then you're like the rest of the world actually, right? And to be like, oh no, I'm following my joy. It's like, well, that's a bit scary, because now, well, first of all, it's like you don't want to be bragging, right? There's this whole thing of like, oh gosh, I don't want to pretend I'm better than anybody else. But also when you're in that, then that's all your responsibility, isn't it? You know, then there's nothing to blame. Then it's all on you. And it's that kind of thing of like, with great power comes great responsibility, right? But it is empowering to be able to listen to yourself and follow your joy. It is ultimately the highest form of sovereignty and the highest in the truest sense way to live, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, of course, it's just not easy. It's, as you say, we just haven't been wired like that. So it's a whole new processor that you're using, whole new processing that you're using, right? Like you have to come into a new comfort. You know, it's like breathing. It's like when you've got used to breathing shallow. Yeah, actually, that's what you're comfortable in. So now when you're trying to, or, you know, looking to come into deeper breath, it can feel slightly forced. It can feel like, oh, this is uncomfortable. Like, you know, I'm having to find more air and like, you know, and because it is uncomfortable. And that's the point. The point is moving out of survival is uncomfortable, right? Like, but actually the rewards we find, just like, once again, by just finding a bit more breath, it means that those thoughts slow down, that there is just more space, and then you can start to see the rewards. So it's understanding that in order to get to your joy, you're going to have to become more uncomfortable, but you can know that that discomfort is going to bring you more health, more wealth of life, more joy. Do you know? And it's like, in knowing that, it can make the pathway easier, right? And like that's like why we're having this conversation, to say like, hey, it's not an easy thing, but ultimately it's what you come for, right? And of course, it's great having somebody who can reflect that back to you as well, that like actually your joy is important. Otherwise, that's where we can like, yeah, just be like, oh no, this is too hard. And then, you know, and especially like because of our ancestors, because of what our parents have taught us. I mean, I know that my mum, because of her experience and, you know, what following her joy meant it made it very confusing for me when following my joy wasn't about like working hard, but working heartfully. And it's like, oh, there's, you know, like I'm like misaligning with what I've been taught, and I'm doing something, you know, so it's like a pushback against what I'm doing, and what I've been taught is the way that you find joy, right? And so we're not necessarily going to find it from our parents. We're not necessarily it's not necessarily following someone else's order. Well, it's not. That's what we know. It's not following someone else's order. You know, it is about just really growing into yourself.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because it's like, you know, we're kind of saying, well, what you've got to do is really learn to follow your joy, you know, but actually that's really, really hard, you know, and you kind of think, oh my God, that just sounds ridiculous. Like, you know, and it's so simple, but it's also really hard. Like it's the simplest thing and it's the hardest thing. And it, yeah, and that does feel really radically different in terms of the position of both of our parents, right? For slightly different but similar, like reasons. They were just on a totally different understanding of things, and yeah, I think it's brave actually for us to acknowledge that that's what we're doing, and that it is hard, and that it's okay, and it's not just going to get better all the time. There's going to be ups and downs, and you're gonna feel lost in it, and then you're gonna find yourself again in it. But the truth is that once you start on that journey, once you start on the journey of self-knowing and discovery, and following, you know, like becoming your own master, and following your individual path, and finding your way, then you can't really go back to sleep again. I mean, you can for a little bit, and it's also okay to allow yourself to, but you won't go back to sleep for long before you realize, oh no, this isn't working. I've got to keep going on this journey of uncovering what my powers are, what my unique gift to give is. And I think also the reason why it can be painful is that often the gift that we're here to give, and the thing that we're here to bring to the universe, which is essentially ourselves, can also, you know, I always say, you'll know this is, but one of my sayings is always that, you know, our greatest gift is our Achilles heel as well. And what I mean by that is that thing that we're really blessed with can often cause us problems. And it's kind of figuring that out that again helps us to know ourselves more and to be able to come into the fullness of giving that gift. So I think, for example, like I actually think we have many gifts to give, all of us, but there might be a primary one, and, you know, maybe some people have one big one and lots of people have other little ones or whatever, many little ones, not saying anyone's better than anyone else, it's just saying. But for example, one of my gifts to give is, I think, the the huge amount of energy and fire that I have, like this kind of very, like, I'm very passionate, and this energy and this fire is what I think makes me a dynamic facilitator. It's what allows me to hold overnight ceremonies and to hold that energy for many people to be able to journey through the night, to be able to perform, and this passion and this fire is a lot of energy, and so that is one of my strengths. But it was also my Achilles heel growing up, because before I understood that, first of all, I was reprimanded for it, like I already mentioned, being a child. Oh, you're showing off, you're too much, why are you doing this? And so it felt like a lot. I would often scare guys away as well, like, oh, you're too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, my excessive amount of love, like, I love you within like a day, and that's like, and they're like running because they're like, what is she all about? And also kind of understanding that it is a lot of energy and it's a lot of fire, and for a lot of people it can be overwhelming. And understanding how to navigate it, and not to hate myself for it, or to feel insecure about it, but just to understand it, and to understand how powerful I am, then allows me to see myself more, and to be able to then navigate that, rather than just seeing that I'm a hot mess. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that the same would be true for me. I mean, I've got on this journey of healing my nervous system, and I'm working with it, and and actually, of course, I would have never chosen to be in the situations that I was in, in that survival and in that fear, but actually, because of that, and because of that awareness of how that then can control how you expand in life and how you create your life, right? Like, I mean, for so long I was creating through reaction, because I didn't know that that's what was happening. I didn't realize. But actually being able to go through this and actually realize, and then being able to come into this conscious creation, it's allowed me now to be able to help others do it, because I can really empathize and understand. And so ultimately it's these things that that we can feel that can cause tightness in us, or that can hurt us, that can then help us help others as well. So it's not straightforward, it really isn't. It's not a case of, it's not everything has dimensions to it, right? So in understanding that means, I mean, that's why it's not so easy. That's why it's not so easy to follow your joy, because often there are other things attached to it that can feel painful as well. So,
and it's like you've got to overcome your adversity almost to be able to follow your joy, or it's woven within, right? Like often. Yeah, I mean, you could even say, oh, I don't know what brings me joy. I don't know what brings me joy. I would even say, well, what do you really hate? Do you know what I mean? Or like, what do you really struggle with? And probably through some investigation of that, you would also find what's really going to bring you joy as well. It's another one of the beautiful paradoxes of this universe, right? But there's probably some kind of blockage there that's related to something really important for you in your life that's somehow going to bring you your joy as well, right?
Yeah, because I believe that our joy is always aligned with expanding our consciousness, right? And expanding the consciousness of the universe. I mean, like you say, we're here experiencing ourselves in order to be able to know ourselves more. So it just makes sense that, like, the expansion of ourselves, overcoming this blockage to allow the energy of us to flow more, is what helps somebody else do it. But of course, like, gosh, I mean, that's the whole point. It's not about it being easy,
yeah,
right?
It's messy.
Like,
this is something we've been talking about.
But what do we know, though, Tārā?
Go on,
right?
sorry.
What do we know? We know that actually, if things come too easy, we disregard them, right? That actually, that doesn't bring us so much joy. So, if, like, for instance, we see that guy, and just like that, we get together, right? It becomes but if there's that guy and then we know him and we see him and we're not sure, and there's all this passion that's being created, and then we finally come together, it's like, oh my God, it's like all that energy that's now invested in this brings us so much joy. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's like we enjoy having to, I suppose, I don't know if work's the right word, but we enjoy the process of working towards something and accomplishing it and being like, yes.
Well, it's through the process of uncovering and discovery, you know, that we do learn more about ourselves, which does increase our consciousness, right? If it was all there on a plate, which I think we've also spoken about previously, you know, then there wouldn't be any purpose of us being here as well. If it was all just ba-bum, you know, it's like there has to be, yeah, we've spoken about this before, but there has to be contraction in order for there to be expansion, right? We have to go into greater incoherence in order to find greater coherence. Because in order to align, there has to be an unalignment, a misalignment to work with, to challenge us, right? We have to feel like, hang on a minute, that doesn't feel good. What's wrong here? Let me investigate it. Oh, okay, now if I shift this, now I feel even better. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's how it works. That's the expansion contraction that we've spoken about previously. We have to have we have to have resistance. We have to have something to push against in order to grow. It's like the butterfly trying to get out of the cocoon. If there's no cocoon for it to push against, and if you just take that cocoon away, then the butterfly's wings are weak, but it needs to push against the cocoon to grow, like to open up, to have that strength to be able to be its full expression of self, right? That's the thing. Life is messy, and we freaking kick and scream and shout about it being messy and want it to be this joyful thing, this just easy, like, but it's just never going to be that, and it would be bloody boring if it was, essentially, right?
Well, we come into the world through the birthing process, which is definitely not easy, right? Like, we come out crying most times. So it makes sense, like, that's just our experience. And it's funny, though, because as I was thinking about, like, you know, what we've got to give and following our joy and all the rest of it, and this, like hard, or this, you know, dark road to this bright self. And it's quite funny that often when we do get there to what is our joy, like we said, it's like the most natural thing. Like, once we allow ourselves to value ourselves and to be in that expression, we're like, oh my God, we're just in flow. This comes so easy to me. I love it. You know, it's just like, yeah, it's just like the uncovering of self.
And sometimes we can even miss it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're like, what brings you joy? Oh, but of course I do that, but that's just something I do. You know what I mean? And you're like, hang on a minute, but not everyone can do that. That's not, you know, you see it as just something I do, but actually that's a really unique gift that only you can do in that way. So we also have to, that's another thing we have to be careful of in following our joy. You know, don't try and make it too complicated as well. Because again, it's a bit of a paradox. Yes, we need the struggle in some ways, but also I do believe that if it's too hard work, then it's just not meant to be as well. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, that if it's like, you shouldn't just be swimming upstream all the time. That you've got to listen to what flows as well. You know, and sometimes it's a thing that you think of as the most whatever, that's just coming naturally to you. They're like, oh, of course, I could just do that, and that's amazing for the world. Actually, if I think about it, you know.
Well, the thing is as well is part of manifestation is believing that you deserve what it is you're desiring, right? So there are people out here and they've got such talents to give, but actually because they undervalue themselves and because that comes so easy to them, or because they're always trying to perfect it because they just can't value themselves in that, even though other people are like, oh my God, it's amazing the way that you play that piano, or that and they're like, oh, you know, that they don't allow themselves to give that, and therefore they keep cutting themselves off and, you know, can never really get ahead in that area. So, I mean, that's why ultimately following our joy is really about,
I was going to say,
loving ourselves.
Episode 6 or whatever it is, but loving, it was just about coming into that love state in general, isn't it, as well, which we have spoken a lot about, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
And I also just wanted to take this moment to make the caveat that in pursuing our joy, that doesn't mean, which we've kind of said in the fact that there's a struggle, but it's also not about rejecting difficult emotions or difficult feelings, or, you know, like we are, which again, again, I know we've spoken about, but we are the full expression of everything, you know, and there has to be the light to have the dark, there has to be the dark to be the light, you know, all of these things. And so following your joy doesn't mean that you're expecting yourself to be in happiness and light feelings 24/7, because that's definitely a surefire way of not being in joy if you're expecting to always be happy. And again, like related to what we're saying, it's going to get boring anyway. So that's not what we're talking about here, right? We're talking about finding your soul's purpose, really, I suppose, and in that way following your deeper sense of joy, which is about harmony and contentment, rather than like ha 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 all the time. Yeah,
and that's why it's never nobody that's accomplished, you know, something or like worthy has said, oh my god, it was just easy, and you know, there was like just everything just happened and I didn't have to have anything to overcome that. I mean, that's just not a real story. You know, of course there's like, that's just life. I mean, nobody's life doesn't have ups and downs. Nobody's life doesn't have joys and sorrows. I mean, that's just all part of life. So it's not about, as you say, always being anything, actually. I mean, we need to have the full range of emotions. It is just about becoming more self-aware. Like, you know, what I've really been working with that has helped me know my joy more is becoming the awareness of the awareness. Like, actually stepping back and actually being able to become, because obviously when we're in ourselves and we're just having the thoughts and just doing the actions, we're just, you know,
experience,
in that kind of experience, right? Like, so we're not reflecting, we're just being in that. And but you know, there's a point where we can just step back to be able to see those patterns and actually be, because obviously we are always aware of ourselves, even if we're not aware that we are aware. There's a lot of awareness going on here, right? But actually that's what we are, pure awareness. And so it's actually like stepping back and being actually like, oh, you know, look at what look at what I'm thinking about and how that makes me feel, or look about what I'm doing and how that makes me feel. And actually just stepping back in that awareness allows for you to know yourself in more depth and therefore make more conscious decisions.
And I think also what we're talking about here is really giving ourselves the permission to have that, to have those dreams, and to give ourselves the permission to live a full and fulfilling life, you know, to follow with open heart and fiercelessness, or with courage, which core is heart, you know, is related to being heartful, you know, with full courage to follow our deepest desires. Right? Like, that's really what we're talking about. And I think that, you know, of course we can spend our lives blaming forces outside of ourselves, be that our parents or society, or, you know, the bodies that we were born into, or the place and time that we were born into. And we can do that, and then we'll join most of the rest of the world, right? But ultimately that's deeply, deeply unempowering. And if we allow ourselves to accept how powerful we are, and how unique and special and magical that each and every single one of us is, we can really focus on increasing our vibration as an integral part of this web of life, right? And we can begin to take those steps to heal ourselves and thus heal the world, right? And understanding also that the more and more we set our sights on that, whilst not knowing how exactly it's going to go, or at what point on that journey we're going to exit this realm, you know, if we allow that, we are also doing a massive task for ourselves, for the world, and more directly also for those that follow us ancestrally, you know, in terms of our understanding now of epigenetics and how you know, it sounds simple, but it was something that came to me in a journey not that long ago, of just that understanding of, everything that my mother didn't heal, I inherit. Everything that I don't heal, my daughter will inherit. You know, that every single thing that I do to uplift myself, to increase my joy, to rewrite, to remove the distortions within my field around who I am and what I am and how lovable and how enough I am, will have a direct impact on the life of my child, my children, and those that come after,
Yeah. No, 100%. I mean, that's exactly what the work is. The kinder and more compassionate we are, and more that we value ourselves, it's the more that we value others, it's the more that we can allow them to be themselves and support them in that as well. Like, that's the thing. If we don't have to play small, they don't have to play small. And in healing ourselves and knowing that, we've come to know things that our parents didn't know, is how we can learn from our children as well, or, the next generation, and what they can teach us as well.
And we certainly don't want them to be thinking, oh, shit.
Yeah.
No one wants their children to think, oh, I've just got to be out here in survival in this world. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've just got to get through school, to get a job, to learn, to pay the bills, to do, to get food on the table. Like, nobody wants that for their children. And they learn through what we do, not through what we say. So we also have to give ourselves that possibility of expansion, right? And it really, and the more we're asking ourselves what brings us joy, what brings us into a state of love, what feels good for me now and will allow me to feel good in the future going forward, the more we can allow others around us, and particularly our children, to do the same, right?
Yeah. And of course, there's some things that, that we've spoken about already, things that can help us. But there's also this understanding that there's things that keep us away from our joy, right? Like habits that we can have, like even down to eating acidic foods, or, getting caught in acidic thoughts, or, things that actually, so if that's also something to understand, that if we're not connecting with our joy, then we need to look at our daily habits as well, as to like, oh, maybe something's keeping us, in reaction and unable to move into creation. Because what we do find is like, and that's the funny thing is we don't know until we start on that path, right? But the more that we choose our joy, is the more that it's reflected back to us that we can choose our joy. So, you can't wait for it to be proven, right? And even if somebody else proves it in front of you, it's not going to prove it to you. The only way you're going to know that this is what you've come for is by taking those steps out of uncomfortably comfortable into discomfort with intention of moving into joy. Yeah. And that's what's going to allow for us to open up to, the next step.
And I think, you mentioned the nervous system before, and I think, we've been on this trip recently a lot in terms of understanding how much our nervous systems are still in survival, even though we're understanding all these thoughts and all of these ideas around raising our vibration, like that we're still in these reactive ways in our body. And just, so much of it is just about giving yourself the space to breathe, giving yourself the space to really listen to what's going on inside, right? And just being able to be like, oh, this isn't really working for me, and not having judgment around it about, like I said to you the other day, it's like I cancelled the word should from my vocabulary about 5 years ago, but I'm still working with it on a subconscious level, right? These ideas of what I should be doing. So I'm not saying it anymore, but it's still there. And just being able to continue to release that judgment around, how many hours I should be working, how many people I should be serving, how much money I should be making, right? Like, and just bringing it back to how am I feeling, and, having that relaxed nervous system. And the thing is, we know it's like, oh yeah, getting enough sleep, and whatever enough sleep looks like for you, and that can change, not having a judgment on what that is, but getting enough sleep, eating healthy food, having relaxing habits like meditating, walking in nature, giving ourselves space to listen and to really tune in, so that we can then get to a space of being able to follow our joy and being able to trust ourselves and what our system really desires. You know, it's just those little things. It's like the big dreams and the immediate habits, and also those immediate desires that you know are really aligned with your higher self, right? That's what we're looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
And trusting the fucking process as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Sorry,
like,
what were you going to say?
Yeah. No, that's exactly that I was going to say. It's just having healthy habits, isn't it? Healthy habits that heal, habits that help you to relax. Yeah, and just really being kind to yourself. Yeah, and the more you do that, is just the more you become joyful, and the more you become joyful is the more you have creative ideas. The more you have creative ideas is the more you find yourself. Because that's the funny thing when you were talking about, like, you know, you could be following your joy, but working a bit too hard at it, right? Like, because you're still in those old habits of thinking that there's a you that needs to be what society has informed you that that's what you need to be enough. So it's an undoing.
Yeah,
and
we joke about that, right? It's like, I'm working really hard at healing my nervous system. It's like, okay, let's just, give ourselves a little bit more space. Yeah, exactly.
Chill out.
I mean, rest is radical resistance, right? I love, big up to the Nap Ministry. If you haven't checked them out, I just think that's so great. I mean, we're going off into a bit of a different topic here, but really, we must definitely do an episode on the nervous system and rest. I think that's definitely to come in the next season. But kind of related to that, I think it's also another big thing is patience. It's like it's great to have these big dreams, and then it's really important to trust the process, that it's going to take time. I think a beautiful quote I heard recently, which is from the guy who started After School, the beautiful online animations around different amazing thinkers and ideas and stuff. And he was saying, I think that everyone overestimates what you can get done in a day and underestimates what can happen in a year. And I think that's really true. So just also trusting trusting what's happening and therefore not crushing your joy before it allows itself to manifest, right? Like, I've definitely, I remember in my early 20s being like, well, there's no point in me trying to learn how to do a handstand now because I've never been able to, so I'm not going to. And it's like, whoa. In my 30s, I got really into handstands, because I'd been able to relax a little bit more, just as a really silly example, for example, but it's just like, whoa, what's, just chill and trust that it's going to happen. Right.
Yeah. It's that thing of like, joy doesn't have to be productive, right? It's not about the outcome. It's not about somebody else's valuation of what you're doing and whether it's good either. It's literally about having fun, right? Being enjoying your body, being enjoying your mind, being enjoying the moment. Even on this idea of like working towards this, soul's purpose, or this, joyful, like there's just so much other things that are actually around that you can find joy in as well. Like it's everywhere when that's what your awareness is, right? And if your awareness is what is hurting you or upsetting you, then you can find hundreds of things that are upsetting you as well, right? It's really about positioning your intention and your thoughts on understanding that actually this is your life, and you're here and you're living it, and you're the master of that. Like, what is it that you're
and not thinking
feeding?
that you have to know it all before it's even happened, right? It's like have your big dreams, like know what, like tune into what brings you joy, tune into that feeling of joy. And again, we're overlapping episodes now in terms of manifesting and feeling the feelings of what it is and allowing yourself to sit in those, and then also give it up to the mystery of the world and not think that you have to know what all the steps are, right? And because the more that we just allow, I mean, then the more magical things can happen as well. Because if we're trying to control it all the time and plan it all the time and know ahead of the game, then we're messing with divine intervention as well, right? Like, because I mean, I just always think of me and in some ways I was following my joy in many ways in terms of having my own theatre company and and making amazing street theatre, if I do say so myself. And I thought it was my dream to do that, and I was doing that here in London, and then I just burnt out, and my body said no, and I had to say it really fucking loudly. Excuse my language, because it took a lot for me to listen, but really I just couldn't anymore. I totally burnt out, and I just knew I had to be out of London. I knew I couldn't do this anymore, and it was a big thing to let go of that, because I was like, what? In my mind, I'd be like, no, but that's my joy. My joy is making theatre and performing. That's what I do. I've never wanted to do anything else. And then stepping away from that and just surrendering to knowing, my body needs to be in nature. I need to be in space. I need to be in an expansive space. And going back to Cape Town, where I studied, and taking my daughter there, knowing I needed to spend more time with her as well, that I wasn't sleeping enough, I wasn't present enough. And in surrendering to that, then these amazing gifts arise. Like, I go and drink ayahuasca there. I get these visions of working in that space. I get blessings from the shaman that this is my path. And then within less than 6 months, I've been on, and I don't know if I've told this story, probably have told the story already, but anyway, I'm not going to go into the finer details of it at this point, but I'm catapulted into this whole new path of existence, and before I know it, I'm serving mushrooms in ceremony to hundreds of people overnight. Crazy. And if I'd have thought that, if I'd have tried to plan that, it would never have worked. I didn't even know it existed as a job, as a thing to do, as a vocation, I'd like to say, more than a job. But and I also didn't know that then, going forward, all of these skills that I'd acquired through my theatre making and my performing and my meditation were going to be so integral and important to the work I have been doing with plant medicine and the healing arts. And it's just like, what? I couldn't have planned it. And if I hadn't surrendered to the mysteries of the world and the universe and life, then that would have never been able to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's beautiful that you were able to do that at that point, because of course it's so understandable that you'd be like, no, theatre, because your family had done that and that's what you'd come from. So it's like giving that you thought was what you were here for up in order to be able to open yourself to something else. That's so brave. But that's the thing. The thing is we have to understand that we're not just this conscious self, right? Like, we are being guided. And actually, if we're willing to allow ourselves to be open to that guidance, it will always find us well, right? And that's just part of this life's journey, to be able to give up the ego for the greater expansion of ourselves. And by understanding and following our joy in the moments, that's a perfect way to do that as well. So I love it. It's a great story.
So that's what we invite you to do, I guess, to try, not to try and do anything, but to work with releasing any kind of fear of failure, releasing any idea of should, releasing any judgments that you have of yourself, of what your joys are, of what your life is, of what you're capable of, releasing any rejections that you feel you've received from life, from yourself, from your family, and allowing yourself to really drop into that feeling of what is here and now, to drop into your heart space, and to follow those little sparks of joy, those sparks of light, those invitations, those pulls, to really sit with what is pulling you, what is asking for your attention, and what excites you, what interests you, what intrigues you, what raises your vibration, and just allowing yourself to move towards that without any knowing of where or how it might lead. But hopefully after this episode, with the knowing somewhere deep inside and a trust that it's only going to help to raise your vibration and in turn that of the world around you.
Yeah, and that what you're desiring at a heart level is desiring you. Like you're a magnet for what you're wanting. So, allow yourself to really feel into that and to trust.
Beautiful as always to talk to you, my beautiful sister. And I feel like this is a really beautiful ending to this this episode and this series. I hope you guys listening have enjoyed it as much as we have. And of course, as usual, stay tuned for the meditation and exercise to follow so you can really embody spirit. Lots and lots of love. Bye.
Hi, beautiful people. So this is the exercise to the Finding Your Joy episode. And in this exercise, we're going to be doing a practical exercise where we're going to be getting in touch with our joy. So if you're in the car, it won't be practical to do this. So make sure that you're in a space where, you won't be disturbed and you have some room around you. And make sure that you have a pen and paper at hand as well. Okay, so are you there, Tārā?
I'm here.
Okay, so when you're ready, find yourself in the middle of the room. Make sure your knees are soft and then we're going to start by spinning as quickly or as slowly as you'd like. Okay, and we're going to be spinning back the years. Okay, so start by spinning back 10 years. Spinning, I don't know how old you are, but just keep on spinning and seeing yourself spinning back 10, 20 years, all the way back until you see yourself as a child. Okay, and when you're ready and you feel all spun out, then I want you to stop and fall to the ground nice and gently. Okay, and so now what we're going to do is we're going to come back round to ourselves and we're going to start to think about what brings us joy, right? What comes to mind. And Tārā and I are going to actually work through some of the things that come to our mind. So Tārā, what's come up for you?
Laughing is the first thing that comes up.
Playing is what comes up for me. What else?
Yeah, dancing.
Singing.
Talking with my friends.
Roller skating badly.
Hugging trees.
Hide and seek.
Swimming in the sea.
Playing cards.
Singing with other people. I know you said singing, but I just thought about singing with other people.
It's going to sound funny, but being sick in the room with the rain falling on the glass, well, that was a joyful moment. Joyful moments.
Eating ice cream.
Playing hopscotch.
Playing with animals, pets.
Funny. Feeding the pigeons. Obviously London.
Feeding the ducks.
Like swinging children, like swinging a toddler. This memory's coming back.
Pushing on the swing. You mean pushing kids on the swing?
No. Like when you're both holding like someone's hand and you're swinging them as you're walking, like there's like a little person. Yeah.
Reading a really good book.
Painting.
Walking in the forest.
Listening to my mother tell me stories at night.
Making something out of clay.
Now this is going to sound weird, but drinking coffee. Started way too young.
But does it have to be things that you did when you were a kid only, or can it be other things that
No,
bring you
no,
joy?
no, no. No, I mean, obviously right now my mind's there, right? Like that's where we are, we're in the child. But that's great. Let's outgrow that. Let's see what comes. And let's bring it into the now. What else brings us joy?
Have a good bath.
Listening to
Like a bubble bath.
inspirational. Oh, lovely. Listening to inspirational podcasts like this one.
Yeah. I don't know. Everything I said already. I can't think of anything else right now.
Cooking a great meal. I love
Eating a great meal.
Hiking.
Listening to loud music.
Yeah. I love that. Cleaning, actually, when I'm in the mood. Like that actually brings me joy. Seeing nice and organised stuff.
Having a good chat on the phone to friends. I said talking to friends, but more talking to friends.
Going to the theatre.
Watching the sunset.
God, I love that. Lying on a beach.
Watching the sunrise.
Oh, smelling flowers.
I don't know.
I don't know if we said laughing, haven't we?
Yeah, okay. Laughing. Putting like moisturizing my body.
Yeah, taking care of yourself, definitely.
Having a massage.
Oh, it's lovely. Having sex.
Yeah, good sex.
Oh,
hey, that's a good place to stop.
And we could go on forever.
Yeah,
I'm sure that's the thing. Once we start, we can go on. Like then there's seeing a baby's face, and it can just go on and on. And really, there's so much that brings us joy when we don't need it to be anything more than just a moment, right? So we hope that inspired you as well, because I'm sure you can come up with many more. And if you want to share, we'd be happy to hear all about the things that bring you joy as well.
Yes, please.
So, and thank you for being with us here today. That was actually joyful. I enjoyed that. exercise. So that was great.
Isn't there another part though? Isn't there a part where we have to Yes. I just liked what you'd said earlier about the trying to think of 52 things.
That's
I don't know if we got up to 52.
No, I don't think we did either. But that's right. Actually, this was an exercise that I saw from, well, I'll put the link. I think it's Dr. Swartz is her name. And it was thinking of 52 things that bring you joy. And then actually tasking yourself with doing one a week, right? So whatever that is. And then working on just being more and more and more enjoying doing more and more of the things that you love. So yeah, so that kind of wraps that up. Let us know how that worked for you, and thank you for being with us here today. We love having you as always. And
remember, as much as it is great to be in joy, it's also great to be in anger too.
Yeah, and actually having a good cry might be something that brings you joy, because I know that
does actually bring me a lot of joy. Yeah. I love crying.
Yeah, and I mean, actually, even being angry, like when like
I'm learning to love anger, that too.
Being angry, brought me great joy, and I love that to come out. So it's not about bad and good. That's definitely what it's not, right? So it's no one else's judgment. Get rid of judgment. Get rid of what anyone else is informing you in, and just allow it to come from within. And if you struggle to come up with 52, don't worry. You can always recycle the ones that you've come up with, but just remember to prioritize yourself.
Yeah, you can definitely have sex more than in 1 week of the year.
And in fact, we prescribe it. So that's great. And So, oh my God, and this is the last episode of this series, the last exercise of this series. And so please stay with us for the final meditation of this series coming up next. Lots of love to you all.
Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome to the meditation section of our final episode of the season, Find Your Joy. And as always, for the meditation, I ask that you find yourself in a comfortable position. For this meditation, you can either be sitting or standing. I recommend that you start sitting in a comfortable position. Make sure that you don't have any distractions. And just closing your eyes. If you need to stop the recording and get yourself ready and comfortable, then now's a good moment to do it. So, closing your eyes and bringing your attention inward and taking some deep breaths. Allowing the breath to come into a softening belly. Allowing the breath to gently become longer and deeper with every inhalation. Allowing the breath to become fuller and broader with every exhalation without any strain or effort. And slowly allowing yourself to disconnect from any outside distraction. Bringing your attention fully within. Becoming aware of all of the many myriad of sensations within you. All of the life within you. All of the particles dancing within you. And becoming aware of this beautiful cord at your center. This cord of light of which everything else is suspended. Becoming aware of this cord as a central line of energy that is anchored deep into the earth beneath you and high up into the sky above you. Feeling this cord being fed from the earth beneath you. With every inhalation, feeling this cord of energy being fed from underneath you. With every inhalation, also feeling the energy from the sky coming into you from above. Really tuning into those sensations within you. The sensations within your body as you feed it with every breath. And allowing yourself to tune into the way that energy moves through you. Tuning into the way that the energy enters you and exits you through the breath. the way that your body is moved by the breath and the energy in constant exchange between you and the universe around you. Allowing yourself to tune into the subtle sensations within. Enjoy the feelings of all of the sensations within you, beneath your skin and within every organ. And as you allow yourself to really feel into the feeling within you, allow a sense of a smile to come to the corners of your mouth as you indulge the sensation that you are in constant flux. Allowing yourself to explore what those sensations are without judgment. They might feel tickly, they might feel fizzy, they might feel sore, but allowing yourself to enjoy the sensation as it is and to explore how it moves within your body. And as you do, allowing that sensation to begin to move your body. Without judgment or feeling of what might be right or wrong in the sense of movement. Maybe it's a slight circling of the hips. Maybe it's a slight undulation of the spine. Maybe it's very little movement at all. But just allowing the body to begin to move exactly as it desires to move in the experience of these sensations within you. Maybe the sensations are wanting you to move with them, move towards them. Maybe your body wants to move those places in your body that are not feeling the sensations. Maybe your body wants to move to amplify those sensations. Allowing yourself to continually explore the feeling within this beautiful body, this beautiful instrument that you have been gifted to embody your spirit in this lifetime. If you stop feeling the sensations within, allow the movement to get smaller, more subtle, until you tune back in again with the sensations. If at any time the movement begins to feel false or disconnected, coming back to stillness and listening, tuning in to the feeling of the sensations within. Maybe it's just a subtle sensation in the fingertips that encourages them to move. Maybe it's just the sensation at the base of the spine that makes it want to circle or undulate or flicker very gently. Enjoy not needing to define what the movement is that you're making. A movement without any other purpose than to enjoy the feeling that it is reflecting, the feeling that it is amplifying, the feeling that it is enjoyable simply to feel it. Again, allowing yourself to be fed by the beautiful energies of the earth beneath you, breathing them in through your feet and allowing your energy to reach down to anchor more into the earth. And also allowing yourself to be fed by the energy of the stars above you, pulling the energy of the stars above you down through the crown of your head to feed you as well. Allowing yourself to tune in to those subtle sensations within you and larger sensations that may grow. Allowing the sensations to grow as a wave grows. Finding a sensation that you're really enjoying within your body and allowing it to amplify as it wants to, without pushing or forcing it, listening and letting it naturally grow. Allowing the movement to find its own flow, keeping your eyes closed, keeping your feet rooted. Tuning in to where your body is in connection to the earth and the air around you. Can you sense where your skin ends and the air begins? As you allow your body to subtly move and gently be moved by itself, can you tune into the sensation of the feeling of your clothes on your body? Can you allow that sensation to also move you? Can you tune in to the feeling of your breath within your body and allow the sensation of your breath within your body to move you? Can you tune in to the sensation of the air beautifully caressing the form that you are and allow that to move you? Can you feel the joy of the sensation of being caressed by the air? Can you allow your fingers to gently caress your skin as the air caresses it in every moment? Allowing the body and the breath to find its own rhythm of enjoyment in itself and its sensations. You may feel the desire to come onto your feet slowly. You may feel the desire to come onto all fours slowly, or even to lie down. Allowing your body to guide you in whatever way it wants to move, to feel good. Allowing the breath to find sound as you enjoy the feeling of your body, as you tune into the sensations within. Can you allow yourself to sound gently the feeling of enjoyment? Allowing your fingers, allowing the air, allowing your breath to gently caress yourself. Allowing your movement to be delicious. Allowing your breath to nourish. Allowing yourself to be in joy. How much pleasure can you allow yourself in your body? Noticing the feelings of judgment and rejection and indulgence that bubble up. And just gently smiling at them and allowing them in the space, releasing them. Allowing yourself to soften into them as you love yourself deeper. Allowing yourself to be in the completely free movement and expression of what your body desires. Allowing the energy within you to grow and to build and to dance you however it wants to dance as you make love to yourself and the universe in beautiful, exquisite joy. If you want to, you can pause the recording now and continue to dance in your joy for as long as you desire, as long as you can allow yourself, continuing to be caressed by the breath, by the sensations, by your own body and the elements around you. I invite you to nourish yourself in this dance as long as you possibly can. Otherwise, allowing yourself to come back, allowing the dance to find its way into a more subtle space within the body. Allowing this beautiful sensation of love to come back to your heart, to find a space to settle in the breath, in this cord of energy that is anchored deep into the earth beneath you and high up into the sky above you, constantly feeding you, constantly allowing you to tap into this joy, this love whenever you desire. Coming back to a point of stillness in the body, yet still feeling these sensations dancing within you. Taking a few deep breaths and releasing them on a sigh. Becoming aware of what you can smell in the space, what you can taste in your mouth. Becoming aware of anything you can hear around you, within you. Becoming aware of the feelings of your hands on your belly, on your heart. Rubbing your hands together and cupping your face, feeling the sensations of your hands on your face. And slowly blinking your eyes open, becoming aware of all you can see. I hope that you are feeling really yummy. And if it was a difficult exercise for you, then also please forgive yourself. And it's a really beautiful thing to journal about what the blockages were, what you found difficult in surrendering to your joy and to your pleasure, which we all have within us. And I invite you to bring this exercise into your life as a weekly, if not daily practice to find the joy that we all have the capacity to access within. To know that we are energetic beings. My cat was doing a full joy dance with me without any touch. Just to prove our energetic natures. Beautiful souls, thank you so much for dancing your joy with me. I hope you are feeling lighter. And that's also just to remind you that it's also a beautiful thing to dance your anger and to dance your pain and to dance your sadness and to allow these things to flow. More about that coming up in our next season. Watch this space. But until then, we love you lots and enjoy. Thank you so much for listening to Embodying Spirit with Tārā and Isabel Almeida. This podcast is brought to you by Rewire Desire and the Conscious Connection community. Please see the links to our social media and websites in the show notes to connect more and access our other offerings. This podcast is brought to you free of charge to spread the love and light we all so deeply need in these times of transition. If you feel abundant, safe, and in a space to be able to give from, we would deeply appreciate your support to sustain this gift. Please follow the link below to make a donation. If you would like to connect deeper and would consider becoming a more active partner, then please reach out to us. We look forward to you tuning in again with us soon. Love always, Tārā and Isabel.